The new Abassid Caliphate experienced a period of splendid rule well into the 9th century. The best known of the caliphs of the time was Harun al-Rashid from 786 to 809, or Harun the Upright, whose reign is often described as the golden age of the Abbasid Caliphate. His son al-Mamun, 1813 to 833, was a patron of learning who founded an astronomical observatory and established a foundation for translating classical Greek works. This was also a period of growing economic prosperity. The Arabs had conquered many of the richest provinces of the Roman Empire and now controlled the routes to the east. Again, this is in the 8th and 9th centuries, respectively. This was also a period of growing economic prosperity. Baghdad became the center of an enormous commercial market that extended into Europe, Central Asia, and Africa, greatly adding to the wealth of the Islamic world and promoting an exchange of culture, ideas, and technology from one end of the known world to the other. Paper was also introduced from China and eventually passed on to North Africa and Europe. Crops from India and Southeast Asia, including rice, sugar, sorghum, and cotton, moved toward the west, while grass, wine, and indigo dye were introduced into China. We see many exchanges because of the spread of the Islamic Empire. The Abbasid Caliphate at its height of its power. The Abbasids rose in the 8th century as the defenders of the Muslim faith and established their capital at Baghdad. With its prowess as a trading state, the Caliphate was the most powerful and extensive state in the entire region for several centuries. The Zaydi Imams, indicated on the map, were a group of dissident Shiites who established an independent kingdom on the southern tip of the Arabian Peninsula. Under the Abbasids, the caliphs became more regal, more kings than spiritual leaders, described by such august phrases like the Caliph of God. They ruled by autocratic means, similar to those used by the kings and imperators in neighboring civilizations. A 13th century Chinese author who compiled a world geography based on accounts by Chinese travelers left the following description of one of the latter caliphs. Quote, "The king wears a turban of silk, brocade, and foreign cotton stuff. On each new moon and full moon he puts on an 8-sided flat-topped headdress of pure gold, set with the most precious jewels in the entire world. His robe is of silk brocade and is bound around him with a jade girdle. On his feet he wears golden shoes. The king's throne is set with pearls and precious stones, and the steps of the throne are covered with pure gold." End quote. As the caliph took on more of the trappings of a hereditary autocrat, the bureaucracy assisting him in administrating the expanding empire grew more complex as well. The caliph was advised by a council called Diwan, headed by a prime minister known as a vizier. The caliph did not attend meetings of the Diwan in the normal manner, but sat behind a screen and then communicated his divine will to the vizier. Some prehistorians have ascribed the change in the caliphate to Persian influence, which permeated the empire after the capital was moved to Baghdad. Persian influence was indeed strong. The mother of the Caliph al-Mamun, for example, was a Persian, but more likely the increase in pomp and circumstance was a natural consequence of the growing power and prosperity of the empire. Nevertheless, an element of instability lurked beneath the surface. The lack of spiritual authority may have weakened the caliphate and given impetus to potential rivals, and disputes over the succession were common. At Harun's death, the rivalry between his two sons, Amin and Al-Mamun, led to civil war and the destruction of Baghdad. As described by the 10th century Muslim historian Al-Masudi, mansions were destroyed, most remarkable monuments obliterated, Price's sword, brother turned his sword against brother, son against father, as some fought for Amin, others for Mamun. Houses and palaces fueled the flames. Property was put to the sack. Wealth contributed to financial corruption by awarding important positions to court favorites. The Abbasid caliphs began to undermine the foundations of their own power and eventually became mere figureheads. Under Harun al-Rashid, members of his Hashemite clan received large pensions from the state treasury, and his wife, Zubaydah, reportedly spent huge sums while shopping on a pilgrimage to Mecca. One powerful family, the Barmakids, amassed a vast wealth and power until Harun al-Rashid eliminated the entire clan in a fit of jealousy. The life of luxury enjoyed by the Caliph and other political and economic elites in Baghdad seemingly undermined the stern fiber of Arab society, as well as the strict moral code of Islam. Strictures against sexual promiscuity were widely ignored, and caliphs were rumored to maintain thousands of concubines in their harems. Divorce was, in fact, common. Homosexuality was widely practiced, and alcohol was consumed in public despite Islamic's law prohibition against imbibing spirits. And of course, this was all because of religion. The process of disintegration was accelerated by changes that were taking place within the armed forces and the bureaucracy of the empire. Given the shortage of qualified Arabs for key positions in the army and the administration, the Caliphate began to recruit officials from among the non-Arab peoples in the empire, such as Persians and Turks from Central Asia. These people gradually became a dominant force in the army and the administration. Environmental problems added to the regime's difficulties as well. The Tigris and Euphrates River system, lifeblood of Mesopotamia for 3 millennia, was beginning to silt up. Bureaucratic inertia now made things worse as many of the country's canals became virtually unusable, leading to widespread food shortages. The fragmentation of the Islamic Empire accelerated in the 10th century. Morocco became independent, and in 973, a new Shiite dynasty under the Fatimids was established in Egypt with its capital at Cairo. With increasing disarray in the empire, the Islamic world was held together only by the common commitment to the Arabic language and the Quran. And so we talk about the Arabic Persian philosophy during this time. Next we will read about the Seljuk Turks, as well as the role that the Crusades played in history, and then the empire of the Mongols, the Mongolian Empire, and a brief talk on the Spanish Moors